Hello my lovely fellow adopters. Today is a video all about Adoption UK, and I would say that this channel is not just for UK adopters because I go through parenting techniques, tips and advice in general about adoption, but I'm more than happy to be invited to do an Adoption UK video by courtesy of Amy Vlog. So if you want to check out her channel, please do. And so I also want to say thank you to two families that got involved on Instagram in answering these 9 questions, because that's what we're going to go through. We're going to go through 9 questions that I'm going to answer from my experience, but I invite you to check out the description below, copy and paste the questions and get involved on Instagram or even here on YouTube in sharing that information with potential adopters. So without further ado, let's get into question number 1. Did I go through a voluntary agency or an LA? Well, if any of you have looked on my channel, you'll realise that we actually adopted the boys that we were fostering. So actually we went through the LA because we were already with the LA. But what I would say, I think, is if I was starting the process again, I would definitely have a look around and look at what agencies or LAs were best placed to work with me and my personality. The second question is did you engage with traditional or foster to adopt? So as I said, we were already fostering, so I suppose if you want to look at it exactly how it is, that would be foster to adopt, but that wasn't a normal foster to adopt because actually by the time we adopted them they already had the permission to be adopted, so it'd already gone through court. So in a way it was traditional, so it was a bit of both really. What was the time scale from start to finish from when the boys were placed? But we already had the boys, so I can't really answer that honestly and truthfully, but I think it was about a year for us, even though we already had the boys for 5 or 6 years beforehand. So that gives you an idea why patience might well be one of the things that you need to be thinking about when you adopt. And the reason why it took us a while, I think, is because we were already registered foster carers, but we had to go through all the adoption preparation and training just as if we knew nothing. And we had a house move as well in between, and I think the social workers were very clear that we needed to settle down first. Amy, the next question is really interesting. I don't know how you thought of it, but it's really quite good. What do you see in your little one? Okay, well mine aren't that little anymore, they're 11 and 12. So the thing that I find really funny about this is they don't really look anything like our birth children looked at all. Not when they were smaller, not now they're older, because sorry birth children, and me and Tim, we have generous sized noses and they have the cutest dinkiest little noses you've ever seen. But if you were to see them walking up the road to school with my husband, he's got a really slim build, and so have they. I'm pretty pig-headed, don't know if everybody understands what that means, but stubborn, and I'd say that both of the boys are very stubborn. That's what I see in them of myself. A difficult part of the process that comes to mind, all right, I'm going to be honest, most of it. I mean, there's lots of hoop jumping, there's lots of, you've got to really rack your brains about the best way to do it. So again, this is something that was said when somebody answered these questions on Instagram, is that you've got to try and enjoy the process, and it's really hard to do that because you're waiting and you're so excited about adopting. It's so hard to really enjoy the process, but most of it is quite difficult, I think. That's what I think, because you are constantly sort of being asked questions that are quite personal. So I suppose if I was to say and pick one thing, I think the personal questions are the most difficult. Well, they were for me because I had a really difficult childhood, and so I was really pushed on that, and I found that quite difficult. My motivations for adoption, I'd always wanted to adopt, even though I'd had 5 of my own birth children. We went into fostering, I enjoyed fostering, but deep down there was always the desire in my mind to not have to then pass those children on, and I really felt that a permanent loving home was something that I wanted to offer. And so when we had the boys for a considerable amount of time, my motivation for adoption was for them to feel completely unconditionally loved and within our family, as if I'd given birth to them. So that was my motivation. The biggest joy in my life because of adoption is going to sound kind of quite odd, I think. We had 5 very capable, bright and achieving children, and I just like the fact that many of my own preconceived ideas and stereotypes and discriminations have been entirely challenged, and my life has been turned upside down. Now, that's not always easy because I find the parenting side of it very, very challenging. We've taken on very challenging parenting, and sometimes that can be very, very lonely. It's changed my perspective and it's changed me inside as a person. And I don't have any regrets about that. I feel that that is a joyful thing. So tips about support network is the next question, and we always had a lot of adult children around, so we were really lucky. But if we hadn't have had that, I would have been building solid friendships in my local community that I knew could step in and help with daily tasks and actually babysit and things like that. So whilst I do think it's really important to build up a network on Instagram and other places where especially the UK adoption community reside, I also think it's really important that you have 1 or 2 people nearby that in an emergency you could actually call and say, can you come and help us because we're struggling, and not be afraid to do that. And what I will say as well, and I feel very strongly about this on my channel, is that some adopters will present a completely rosy picture, and it's never going to be completely rosy. Even the best adoption in the world will have its ups and downs, and I think you need a close friend or family member that you could properly offload to that sees the raw reality of it. So start thinking about that now. So tips for adopters: well, read plenty, find plenty of channels, and not only are there UK adoption channels, there are other channels out there. Just have fun and look out there and see what's out there on the internet and enjoy absorbing information and material. But my biggest tip for you would be, before you even start the process, think about the type of child that you think would match your family, because you're going to be presented with lots of scenarios and lots of opportunities. But I think the best adoption process for you would be almost to know your mind before you get started. So think about the age really carefully, think about the types of background that you think you could accept, because your head will just get too scrambled when you get to matching process and you're presented with all these amazing children. So guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this Adoption UK video. My channel is full of behavioural advice, tips, support, experiences, and so many things on my channel. There is one playlist just purely about Adoption UK process, if you're interested in the process side more than anything else. But thank you for listening. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you on some of my other videos. Goodbye.